Bookstore Love Story. Hannibal wasn't looking for love. He liked his life just fine. Work at a bookstore kept him busy. His small apartment above it gave him comfort. Books were his thing, not people. Iris was the complete opposite. She loved people. Her flower shop across the street bustled every day. She knew her customers by name. She remembered birthdays and favorite blooms. Her laugh carried through the air, even when she wasn't trying. One rainy Monday, Hannibal stood at his shop window. He watched Iris wrestle with an umbrella as she locked up her shop. The wind yanked it from her hands and it flipped inside out. She laughed, shaking her head. "Serves me right for buying cheap," she muttered to herself. Hannibal smirked. "Trouble with the weather?" he called. Iris turned and smiled. "Trouble with life, more like it. But nothing flowers and books can't fix." That was the start. The next day, Hannibal walked into Iris's shop for the first time. "Got a plant for someone who forgets to water them?" he asked. Iris tilted her head. "You're asking for yourself?" "Maybe." She handed him a small succulent. "Even you can't kill this. Just like a book, it tells you what it needs if you bother to read it." He chuckled. "Fair enough." Over the weeks, Hannibal found excuses to visit. He'd ask about roses or daffodils. She'd tease him about needing a reason to stop by. Their conversations became a ritual. One day, Iris showed up at his bookstore. "Got anything for someone who doesn't read much?" she asked. He handed her a slim book of poetry. "Start small. These are like flowers, short and sweet." She flipped through it. "Thanks. I'll try." Months passed. Hannibal and Iris grew closer together. They shared lunches, they swapped stories. Hannibal opened up about his quiet life. Iris confessed her fear of standing still. "Why do you run a shop then?" Hannibal asked one afternoon. "Flowers remind me to keep growing," Iris said simply. Hannibal nodded. "Books do the same for me, just in a quieter way." They sat in silence after that. It wasn't an awkward silence. It felt like understanding. The town held a spring festival that year. Hannibal avoided it, as always. Crowds weren't his thing. Iris, of course, had a booth for her flowers. She waved at him across the street as he stood by his window. "Come on," she shouted, "just for me." He sighed, grabbed his coat, and crossed the road. Her booth was colorful. Iris handed him a daisy. "See? Not so bad," she said. Hannibal smiled. "You're relentless." She laughed. "And you're stubborn. We make a good pair." Something shifted then. The following week, Hannibal walked into Iris's shop. "You free tonight?" he asked. Iris raised an eyebrow. "Why? Got a book you need help reading?" "No," Hannibal said. "Dinner." She grinned. "I thought you'd never ask." They fell into a rhythm after that. Hannibal learned to love her energy. Iris appreciated his calm. They balanced each other, like roots and leaves. A year later, they stood in Iris's shop, rearranging flowers. "You ever think about what's next?" Hannibal asked. Iris looked at him. "Next?" "Yeah, like marriage." Iris smiled. "Are you asking?" Maybe, Hannibal said, holding up a daisy. She laughed. That better not be the ring. They got married in the garden behind the flower shop. Hannibal wore a simple suit. Iris carried a bouquet of daisies and poetry pages. As they exchanged vows, Hannibal thought about how plants and books weren't so different. Both needed care, both told stories, and sometimes, if you'd look close, they'd bloom together. Even opposites can grow something beautiful if they take the time to nurture it.